Yeah. So today's panelists are Asmita Ghosh, who is placed at Hull, Anita Jain, who is placed at PNG, and R. Raghav, who is placed at ITC. Welcome to all the panelists. I would request all the panelists to please turn on the camera. It would be very good. Nice. Thank you. Okay, without further delay, let's start with the first question.
So the first question is about the skills and experiences we need to apply for this profile. So what according to you all are the required skills and experiences? So I want like Anita, would you start with that?
Um, right. So for the supply chain profile, or basically for the FMCG profile, I don't think there are any specific key skills or key experience that they look for. I think they particularly look for an all-round personality. So they're not very picky on CG like some of the software companies. I think an above 8 or an above 8.5 is sufficient to get shortlisted. I think it would be good to have like strong extracurriculars, not like strong, but in the sense like a bunch of extracurriculars on your resume, as well as some like PORs and some interns. So an overall personality is what they look for, in my opinion.
Okay, Anita. So anything else anyone wants to add? Raghav, do you want to add anything?
Hello. I think what she said is is the correct thing. No specific skills or experiences are needed. Just I guess your CV should be well rounded. Uh, that's what I think should be necessary.
Okay. So Ashmita, anything you want to wind up with? Ashmita, you are not audible.
Hello.
Yes.
So it was like covered pretty well.
Swarnav, is this problem just from my side or I'm not able to hear the panel?
Yeah, I guess there's some problem with the internet from Asmita.
Okay, Ashmita, can you just speak a bit clearly? I think there is some background noise, so we are not able to hear you.
Just a minute. I think I have some connection issue.
No, now it is clear. You can
It's
speak.
clear.
Yeah, now is it fine?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, what Anita said was very correct that they don't look for previous skills or any specific set of skills. You just need to prepare your CV well. That's it.
Okay,
Okay.
so let's
So
move on to the next question.
yeah. So the next question is how to prepare for this profile and what are the resources needed? So Raghav, would you like to start with this question?
Yeah, sure. So I guess for interview preparation, you should be thorough with some common HR questions introduce yourself and what are your long-term goals and what are your strengths and weaknesses. The common HR questions, you should be thorough with them because these could be expected. And resources, I would say you can look up on Google. There, like you would get a question bank of HR questions. You can go through it, and nothing more to prepare for, I guess. And you should be confident in speaking. That's what I think, because the only thing which they look in the interview is your CV and how well you answer. So I think these are the points.
Okay. Asmita, would you like to add anything to this?
For HUL specifically, they ask a lot of.
I guess Asmita, your microphone is some issues. Yeah.
Okay, so for HUL specifically, they ask a lot of technical questions. So your like core subject knowledge should be very strong. Like they really ask derivations and background knowledge in those subjects. So prepare well for the technical part as well, apart from the general HR question.
Okay. Anita, would you like to add anything to these tips?
Right. So I think like in connection to the previous question, like we had mentioned that, supply chain is something which you can't really, to be honest, really prepare for. But the one thing is definitely there, that your resume and your personality questionnaire or the personality test that you take has to be done very well. So in terms of, I think and this is particularly very important because a lot of people during that last peak CDC time, not a lot of people actually focus on, like, ensuring that their resume is like super perfect, or they don't spend and take that extra half an hour and do that personality questionnaire very properly. But I think for supply chain, especially for the FMCG profile, you should take that time out and really ensure that your personality questionnaire is done very properly and your resume is done very, very, very properly, because that's what makes the difference. That's what gets you shortlisted. For almost all the companies, it was a personality element and the resume that got them shortlisted. So that is something that you need to pay a lot of attention to. Regarding with respect to PNG, there's no specific resource really that you can use for either the test or for the interview, because both the test is something which you can't really prepare for. I think we'll probably explain that in the selection procedure part of the session. But one thing is definitely there, that if you read through the values of the company, like for all FMCG companies, if you read through the values of the company, like what are the peak values they associate with and what is the culture of the company, then I think you'll be able to answer your questionnaire and you'll be able to give your personality test in a much better way. That would probably help you, in my opinion. And aside from that, maybe being a little knowledgeable about supply chain terminology may also help in your interview in general.
Okay. I guess that was a lot from this question. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay, so the next question is about the technical knowledge we need for to get an internship in this profile. Like anything regarding coding, like is it necessary to have coding skills to crack internships in this profile? So Raghav, would you like to start on that?
Yeah, sure. So coding is not required for these profiles, but technical knowledge, I would say, if you are if you have some knowledge of supply chain, I guess that could help. As my department itself has that subject, I guess it helped me. And otherwise, I don't think any special technical knowledge is required. That's all from my side.
Okay, so Anita, would you like to add something?
Right. So I agree with Raghav on this. Even in PNG, there was no technical knowledge which was asked. In fact, I think for the other FMCGs, I think there might be still some more technical questions asked with respect to supply chain. But I think in case of PNG, there was no coding asked. There was no sort of theoretical or any sort of question related to engineering which was asked. It was completely based on your experiences, what impact you created. So I think PNG goes the other extreme where they don't ask any sort of technical questions.
Okay, so Ashmita, would you like to add something to what this is?
Yeah, like coding is not mandatory, but it's a plus. You know, if you know coding, then you can like do well in your internships as well. And regarding technical knowledge for HUL, it is very necessary, very important because they ask from like from your core subjects only. Like I'm from chemical engineering, so I was asked from fluid mechanics, thermodynamics, heat transfer. So those not like those should be, you know, like you need to have a very good grip on those subjects. Otherwise, they don't ask anything about supply chain. They don't even expect you to know anything about supply chain and all this.
Okay, so that is a very nice wrap up. So let's move on to the next question.
Yeah. So the next question is, what is the general selection procedure for companies of this profile? So Anita, would you like to start with this question?
Right. So for PNG, there is first a test that they make you conduct, that they make you take. So the test has two sections. One is a personality section, and the other one is an aptitude section. So in the personality section, there are around 60 questions maybe where they grill you on different situations and they ask you how you're going to proceed in those specific situations. And the reason why they ask so many questions is because they're looking for consistency, because a lot of times people lie in personality sections. So they ask a lot of questions. So the key in this particular section is to be consistent with your answers, to be honest with your answers. And what they basically do is that they'll choose people who gel with the culture of the company. So based on the answers that you select, if your answers match with the values that they believe in, then you're most likely going to crack the personality element part. The second section of this particular test is the aptitude test. So the aptitude test of PNG is also unlike normal aptitude tests which you can prepare for. Like it's not like the CAT aptitude test, where you can do like, you can follow, I think, different authors' books and crack it. It's a gamified assessment. So there are three sections to that again. There is a digit assessment. There is another logical reasoning assessment, and there's a memory assessment. So here, this is a time part of the test where your presence of mind is crucial. It's an easy section, but your presence of mind is crucial, and you should pay attention to what's going on. And once you crack this particular, like, and after you finish the test, if you're above a particular absolute threshold, then they will screen your resume. So for people who do not pass the test, PNG automatically sends rejection mails. They don't even screen the resume. So then after that, there is a resume screening, and then there's a shortlist which is announced, and then there are like normal rounds of interviews on day one, just like other companies.
Asmita, would you like to add your experience to this?
Yeah, like for SQL, you have a case study. First, there is a resume screening, obviously. Then after that, there is a case study round where you are given three cases, and you need to like apply logic and basic general knowledge to give answers to them. And then after that, you have the PI. Like previously, there used to be a GD, but this year they did not conduct the GD.
Yeah. So Raga, would you like to add your experience to this?
Yeah, so for ITC, there's a resume shortlisting, and they used to have a GD, but as it was online, so instead what they did was they gave a topic and they gave us 1.5 minutes to think about it and 1.5 minutes to speak on that topic. And this was kind of a like there were a group of people and one would be speaking, and at that time you would be thinking about your topic. And once you clear this, there's the interview, the day one interview, and there are two rounds, and both the rounds are like almost similar, like both us the same HR questions and questions about your CV, and I guess that's it.
Yeah. Okay. So now I guess we have understood the general procedure in brief for all the different companies. So now let's move on to the next question.
So the next question is about having an intern being done before CDC. So how important is that according to you all? So I would like to, Ashmita, would you like to start on that?
Yeah, well, like it's not necessary to do an internship before CTC because I know many people who did not do so but still got good placements in CDC. But if you like manage to do an internship, it's a plus point to add to your resume. Like you can then explain what you did in your like second year summers or something like that. So it's not mandatory, but it is a plus point.
Okay, so Raghav, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I would completely agree on this. The thing is, if you have an internship, it adds a point in your CV and you can like it some space. And if you are free in summers, it's like better if you get an experience. But it's not if you don't have an internship before CTC, then it's not a problem. But I would say invest your time properly in summers.
Okay. So Adita, would you like to add your views to that discussion?
So actually, like for CDC, so if you're asking in general before CDC if an internship is required, then that's not the case because I think for coding, an internship is not really it's not really necessary for you to have an internship or a corporate internship before CDC. But with regards to supply chain, I think personally, I think an internship is pretty important for supply chain profiles because it's based on resume shortlist. So in your resume, they basically choose you based on the kind of impactful work that you've done. And I think internships and PORs are those two sections where you can really talk about the impactful work that you've done. So I believe that especially for supply chain management, I think it's it would be a huge bonus for you. I wouldn't say it's like mandatory or essential, but I think it would be a huge bonus for you if you do choose to do an internship because you have that 4 or 5 lines which describe the kind of impactful work that you've done. And I think that's a huge selling point for you, and that's more likely to get you shortlisted.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question then.
I think we have come to almost a very this is a very important question for all of us. Do you like how would you like to any suggestions for cracking the interview? So Asmita, would you like to start answering these questions? Any suggestions for the interview? Any tips and tricks?
Well, first of all, you need to, like for HUL specifically, you need to have good technical knowledge in your core subjects and you need to be confident. Like, it's not always that you will give the correct answer or they'll expect you to give the correct answer, but it's the approach that matters, like how you solve, how you approach the problem they're asking. So you should be confident and express yourself well. That would be the best part.
Okay, so Anita, would you like to add some points to these questions?
Right, I definitely agree with Asmita. Like being confident in interviews is like super important because I think the interviewer they are really going to grill you. I think especially for the FMCG profiles, where it's more of a techno management role, and they're looking for leadership qualities, and they're really looking closely at your personality. The interviews are generally harder, in my opinion, because they really would like to grill you on the different things that you've done, the different things that you've described on your resume. So at least for PNG, PNG they did not ask any sort of technical question, but what they did do was they definitely grill me on the different aspects that were there in my resume. So the suggestions for such an interview would be to keep calm, uh, to to be to like think of different ways of how you can prove the legitimacy of your work. So let's say, for example, your interviewer is continuously trying to say that you did not do something well, or oh, you did only so much. Then you should think of other alternate ways to show how your work was important in whichever internship you did or in whichever organization you are part of. So I think staying calm, being confident, being having great presence of mind is pretty crucial. So sleep well before your interviews, definitely, because it's a very stressful experience, and you want all your entire body to be in its best, in its peak form while answering those questions. And aside from that, I think a good tip, which I think someone else, which I realized, I think during the PNG interview, was to understand the pace of the interview. So what happens is that interviews use these techniques to psych you out. For example, when you're trying to say something, they'll cut you off and they'll ask another question, and they'll cut you off multiple times. Now, what this ends up doing is that it increases the pace of the interview. So, in moments like these, you should remember that they're trying to increase the pace of the interview. And when you try to give your response to them, you should also slow down your pace so as to sort of like make the experience a little bit more easier for you to answer. Because if the pace of the interview starts increasing, then you're more likely to not have too much time to think about your answers or frame your answers properly. So I think like reading books about interview techniques in general would be good, because that would help you like really manage your interview process very well. I think those are the big suggestions that I would have for anyone who's going for FMCG interviews.
Yeah, Raghav, would you like to add anything?
No, I guess pretty much they summed it all up. That I don't have anything to add.
Okay, sure. So I guess that's almost the end of the questions. Let's move on to the question and answer session. So one query which was over here was in the technical round, will they ask questions from core subject? I guess this question is already asked. So anybody would like to elaborate anything on this part? I mean, which chapters or anything if necessary? If anyone could add, any one of you, if
Yeah, so
Anita,
for like
Asmi. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
so for HUL, if you are from chemical or mechanical, then you must prepare your core subjects like thermo and fluid mechanics. Those are really important. Like they'll ask questions from those topics, and day-to-day applications of those concepts like Bernoulli's principle and Carnot cycle, whatever they ask questions like that regarding pumps and all those things. And even heat transfer is important. And for other like branches, I have no idea really what they ask.
Okay, so anyone else would also, if anyone likes to add up.
Yeah, Swarna. Okay,
Okay.
continue.
Oh, if anyone would like else would like to add, Raghav or Anita.
No, I guess one thing which I would like is make sure that these companies open for the department. All companies don't offer all the departments, so please check that. And I would suggest one more thing: even if coding is not required for this profile, do code, because there isn't any guarantee you would get into this profile. So you should always have a backup plan. That's what I think.
Okay, Anita, would you like to add anything, or we should move on to the next question? But yes.
I mean, I think I've already mentioned this. PNG does not have any sort of does not ask any sort of technical questions. However, PNG did conduct a webinar for us during our CDC time. So they did ask me one question regarding the webinar they took, which was a little bit related to the kind of business that they do. So I think attending webinars in general for PNG, or like attending webinars for all companies, is pretty important, because they might ask questions regarding that. And I think that really is a good conversation point if you've really attended the webinar well and you've understood the points of the webinar well. So I would probably recommend that.
Okay, so the next question is from a person from a chemical engineering department. So he wants to add on that why mostly chemical and mechanical engineering students are only taken for supply chain profile, and also that being a chemical engineering student, should he be taking any course out of the current depth courses or any projects necessary for this profile, and how to build the CV for this profile. So anyone who would like to start with that? Ashmita, I guess you would be the perfect person to address this question.
Yeah, so for the first part of the question, like why chemical and mechanical people are mostly taken, I guess ITC takes everyone. Even PNG does not have such bias. And HUL this year they shortlisted chemical mechanical because usually they open only for those two branches only. This year they opened for all the other branches, but they did not select. So like it's mainly you have to work in the factories and then again do some like not coding but Excel based things. So for that like factory experience and other things, chemical and mechanical, they are more used to it. Like they think they know better. Otherwise, I don't know why. I don't think there is any particular bias. Like they usually take from every department. And being a chemical student, this question, no, I don't think so. You need to take on other depth courses. You can take other courses for coding profile, data analytics, but not for supply chain. And how to build CV, projects, of course, projects, like everything depends on how you present it in your CV. If you have done projects, it's very good. It you can add to your CV and you can explain how you have utilized your time in the campus and during your summers. So in that case, projects are necessary, but again, these are not mandatory. Like even if you don't have projects, it's not like you won't get selected. So there's no particular like set rules regarding these things. That's it.
Okay. Um, if anyone would like to add anything to the question asked, or else the next question is was asked by Aniket. Any courses are available at IIT KGP related to this? I mean, how to start searching for internship in this field? Means, what is the basic knowledge required so that at least we get an internship? Anyone who can help?
I don't think any basic knowledge as such is required. Like I don't know about other departments, but in case of my department, there wasn't any specific like course which we should do or something of that sort. But for chemical and some other departments, they ask questions related to their subject. So maybe if you are from that department, you would need to brush up some of the topics.
Okay, Anita or Rasmita, anyone, if they would like to add anything to this questions, okay, then we can move on. The next question asked by Vedit is it because your standard?
Yeah, so the next question is that to Raghav, that is it because you of your DR that you were able to excel your interview?
Uh, I don't know. Like maybe that could have played an important factor, but I guess having a high CG is a plus point. Uh, but I don't know, like if DR and all that stuff affects the like interview process and all.
Okay, so
Yeah, I guess there are no more questions. So let's move on to the next part.
Swarnav, there is one question.
Okay, Hari. So Hari is asking for a second year student who wants to get an off campus. What topic should the person have knowledge on for getting an intern in supply chain management?
I think it applies same here. Like there isn't any specific theory or course you would need to get a hang of. Like I don't think the company people would expect that you know everything about it, and uh, like uh, there isn't anything specific you should go through, I guess. Your CV should be well built, and you should be, I guess, confident in giving your interview, and that's all that matters.
Okay. I guess we are almost done with the questions. So, in the end, any general funda you'd like to give to the KGP Janta? So, we'll start with Asmita.
So, like it was pretty well covered in the previous questions only. What else can I say?
Yeah.
Anita explained the things really well. Good sleep, confidence, like everything she covered. So those are the key points. I don't think I have anything else to say.
Okay. Anita, would you like to add anything?
I think what I would say, what I would definitely say is that when I was in my second year, I thought that there were going to be a lot of non-tech profiles. I thought there would be a lot of companies like PNG, ITC that would come, and a lot of consulting companies that would come. But the actual situation is that there are very few. I think almost all companies require you to know coding. So my biggest advice to all the second years or all the dual degree third years would be to not rely on any sort of profile like supply chain, consult, or finance, because all of them are shortlist dependent, and shortlists may or may not go your way. So always prepare a coding backup. That is very, very important. And it's not necessary for you to do it using code forces or code chef. Use interview bit. I call that the jugaad technique. Use interview bit, and cover all the questions that cover all the different concepts that come, cover all the questions that come. And even if you may not crack a day one, day two, day three software intern, but at least you have a backup because you know coding. So that is something which is very important. And the second thing is, whatever you do, I think what happens is that when people hear non-software profiles, they hear ki, yeah, we need PORs, and they just go chasing behind PORs. I would strongly recommend that don't chase behind CV points at any point in your IIT KGP life. Instead, whatever you do, ensure that you do it as sincerely as possible, and do it with your 100%, with your 100% energy and all of that, because it's only when you do it like that will you have really interesting points to write on your CV and really interesting things to tell in your interview. So those are the two things: be prepared for coding backup, and be genuine about whatever you do, so that you are able to sell it on your CV and in your interview.
Okay. Raghav, would you like to give any general funda? Yes.
Yeah, I guess it's like you need to start coding, and yeah, however tough or however boring it seems, you should start coding. And I think this series is like at the end, after every preparation is done, it's just like a game of Ludo. Like if you get lucky, you get into an interview and you qualify for it. Otherwise, you just need to keep trying on. That's all from my side. And I would make one thing. Please make sure which company is open for the department. Don't think every company is open for the department. And also, if a company opens for the department, it does not mean it would take you. Like there are some companies which open for many departments, but they take people from only certain departments. So try and get to know all of these, and then if you want to fix a profile, then fix a profile. That's all from my side.
Okay, so this is, I guess, all. We are almost to the end, and I would like to thank everyone, all the panelists, for giving time to us from their busy schedule. This was really a very insightful discussion. I would like to thank all the attendees for attending the panel discussion. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.